Let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome on behalf of Colorado Western Slope Fair. Thank you so much for joining us in the first session of the first workshop today, First in the Family to Go to College. My name is Eric Redonia. I'm one of the Assistant Deans of Admission at Hamilton College, and I will be your moderator today. I'm joined by Angel from Western Colorado University, Ajane from Colorado State University, and Yulisa from Colorado State University. So for the next 25 minutes or so, they're going to go ahead and present on first generation students and that transition into a new world like the college world, like undergraduate institutions. And then for the last 15 minutes, we'll save time for a Q&A. So that's going to be a great time for anyone to ask any questions to any of our three presenters. But again, we are so excited for you to be joining us today. This session is being recorded, so I just wanted to vocalize that. But again, thank you so much. And without further ado, I'll go ahead and let our first presenter start us.
All right.
Hey everyone, go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you for that introduction. So as Eric had stated, my name is Ajane Hopkins. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm an admissions recruiter for Colorado State University.
Hi everyone, my name is Angel Martinez. I'm a brand new admissions counselor for Western Colorado University. So throughout this presentation, if you guys have any questions, they don't have to be first gen specific, but we're more than happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Yulisa. I use she, her pronouns. I'm currently a fourth year at Colorado State University. So just coming in to bring in that student perspective. I'm also a first generation student.
All right, so to begin, many of you might already know what the definition of a first generation student is, but actually it kind of differs across universities. So in general, it is a student whose parent or parents did not complete a four-year college degree. So even if you have an older sibling or grandparent who has completed school, then you are still counted as a first generation student. And then so to begin, we'll just kind of share some common challenges that you might already have been thinking about or may come up in the future. So to begin, listed up there, I'm a first generation graduate, so I've had some of these experiences. And Yulisa, feel free at any point if you would like to share too. So what I noticed is a lot of guilt and pressure, that guilt that I actually have the opportunity to do something that my family hasn't been able to do, and if I really deserve it. So there was a lot of me questioning that, and then pressure to decide whether I should be going to school. Should I be the first, or should I wait until my siblings do so, or anyone else to come along in my family? Same thing for access and research. I remember not even being able to go on any tours. I was just busy with other family stuff, never even got to tour the university I chose, not even virtually, because that wasn't an option back then. And then as far as researching, I just didn't know what I was supposed to look for a college or university, or even what questions to ask. And I even remember, like, during financial aid, completing the FAFSA, I was in my counselor's office every day, just trying to make sure I had everything completed, doing everything right. And I signed up for 3 workshops. And so the very first workshop I showed up to, I brought my mom. I told her to bring all the paperwork she needed, and we had to figure out this complicated schedule, only to show up and realize that I had done everything right, but I was so nervous that I wanted to be on top of everything. And then also just mentioning that imposter syndrome, that is just, when I finally got into school, I was like, well, do I even deserve to be here? Are there any other people who are like me? And because I am first, am I the only one too?
Oh, Angel, you're muted.
There we go. Thank you so much for that. So just to add on to that, imposter syndrome is like one of the toughest challenges we all face, like being first gen or not. And it's just having that internal belief that you're not competent enough as others perceive you to be. And I mean, since our families don't sometimes have that full understanding of the demands of higher education, we just sometimes don't benefit from what they simply can't give us to. And that's fair. You know, you don't know what you don't know. So the first step is just to be aware of that and identifying those feelings. And afterwards, you just have to really remain positive. Just remember what you bring to the table And just remember to ask for help too. It'll really go a long way. So if you're ever feeling that imposter syndrome, just remember that it's natural. You're going to experience those feelings, but once again, just know what you're about and know what you bring to the table, and you'll be perfectly fine too.
And so with that imposter syndrome, just knowing that you are actually not alone. Like there are other people who are going through the same thing. Just because you're the first in your family doesn't mean you're the first person ever to do this. And so just up here, we've listed some, just a few resources like the Center for First Generation Student Success. This is actually not specific to any university. Any student is welcome to visit that link and find more resources. And through there, you get to connect with other first generation students and then do more professional development. So there's different workshops and opportunities to just work with each other virtually and in person. And that isn't just for your first year either. That's like throughout your entire college experience. And then you have opportunities to do more work for that organization post-graduation. And then also just being proud to be first, because literally when you walk into that classroom that first day, it's not even going to be just your first time in that space with that instructor learning that material. It's going to be everyone else's as well, whether they're first generation or not.
Now, I just want to go over some do's to just excel both in and out of the classroom. Just remember to ask for help too. Once again, you're not completely alone, and half the time people are more than happy to help too. And my second is honestly my favorite, best advice I can give you guys. Showing up is half the battle too. Sometimes you just got to get yourself to class too, and after that, like it'll just get your day started as well. So just remembering to try and be prompt with that time management, which brings me to my next point as well. Try not to procrastinate as well. Just remember to be on top of your class schedule and everything. Just stay on top of it all. Make sure if you need to invest in like a planner, say you want to just whatever works best for you. If you need to write it down, just make sure to be on top of your time too. But last but not least, if you're ever feeling overwhelmed over anything, just remember to breathe too. Sometimes we tend to stress ourselves out over the little things too. So just take a step back, just look at how far you've come to, and everything's gonna be all right, honestly. Now, some of the perks of being a first generation student too is just, well, first things first, life is all about who you know, right? College is gonna increase those networking opportunities for you. And in that process, you're going to find your own community too. So you're going to meet other people that have those same ambitions, that have those same drives that you possess as well, which is exactly what you want in life, right? And last but not least, I think one of the greatest perks about being a first gen student is just all of those scholarship opportunities you're going to have. Being a first gen student is very unlikely to hurt your chances of admissions at any competitive college, honestly. In fact, your first gen status is not only going to attract admissions officers towards you, but they're also gonna view your application in a much more positive way as well, which leads to some unique opportunities just for you, and they're renewable as well. So just make sure you're looking at scholarship opportunities for first gen students all year round. Just research those scholarship opportunities, and several scholarship providers donate for students who are first in their families to go to college too. So just remember, this sounds silly, but you have like a giant beacon that's following you all over your place. You're a big target, and just take advantage of that too. There's going to be a lot of opportunities both in and out of the classroom for you. Once again, you're going to find that community. So just once again, I'm gonna bring it back. Just remember what you're about. Find that community, find those people with those same ambitions and drives, and just keep an eye out for some scholarships. Now, why college? Obviously, a lot of us attend college because we're looking to find a good paying job. And that's obviously why the majority of people go to college. I decided to go to college because I realized early on that it was going to be a long-term investment, not only financially, but socially as well. And last but not least, as much as I want to rely on my parents to push me, they can only help me so far and so much. which leads me back to what I said earlier. You don't know what you don't know, and that's fair. And college is going to be one of those opportunities to be able to network with other people. They're going to be able to help you get where you want to be in life. So that's why I chose college. What do you guys have to add on to that?
Yeah, I can add on to why I decided to pursue higher education. I was very lucky to have a really awesome program in my high school that really showed me that college was an option for me and all of the resources that were out there. So I had a lot of support throughout my senior year of high school to look into different universities. It was a little nerve-wracking for myself because I had no idea what I wanted to study. Everyone kept telling me, like, you can do this, you can go to college. And I was like, that's great. I love the support, but I have no idea how to get there or what I'm even going to do when I get there. So it was really hard to pick a university when everyone, all my other friends were like, I want to be an engineer. So let me find a university that has a great engineering program. I had no idea what I wanted to study. So it was a little bit hard at first to think about what I want to look for in a university. Well, after looking through my resources and my support systems, I realized that I should look for a school that was going to help support me and the identities that I hold, first generation being one of those main ones. So I looked for schools within my area that really had awesome programs for first generation students, students of color, low income students. And I found that my university did that very well and had a lot of cool programs. So for me, ultimately, it was that support of why I wanted to attend my university, knowing that I wasn't going to be alone, right? That one slide there, you're not alone. There are many first generation students out there. So I think it was just about finding that right community for me. And when I found out that there were more students out there, that's why I wanted to pursue higher education, was to be able to have that community there and find my passion. And now I definitely have found my passion and have an even stronger why for wanting to graduate, which I'm almost there.
Yeah, for me, I had sort of two whys. My first why of like, why should I go to college was really motivation behind my family, proving to them that I can help them and I can be the first, because I was like, I'm the first girl in my family, firstborn. I was like, well, if I'm first in all of that, I guess I can be the first to go to school too. And then my second why came after like my first year. I was like, well, why should I stay? Why should I keep doing this? And then it was because of my siblings, and they were like really excited to say I have a sister who's going to university, and then that motivated me to stay and then found my home and community at school as well. And so once again, like you Lisa said, you know, you're not alone. And once you figure out your community, your place, and realize that you have support, it really establishes why you should continue moving forward.
And I do want to add one last thing. So I want to share a quote with everyone. And it sounds kind of silly, but I want you guys to take it seriously. So if anybody's familiar with the NBA, there's a player named Spencer Dinwiddie. Long story short, Spencer has this silly quote on how he picked the college, and it goes like this. So Spencer said, picking a college is like finding a partner, a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You don't want to just go for the baddie. You want to go for the one that truly loves you, and vice versa as well. So just make sure when you're researching those different college opportunities, find a college that you truly see yourself succeeding in, both in and out of the classroom. You know, find that baddie that's just for you. But once again, if you don't love that baddie back, she's not gonna do nothing for you. So just remember that you're gonna get a valuable education wherever you decide to truly apply yourself. Now notice how I said apply yourself. That doesn't mean just attend any college. You can attend Harvard or any other top university, but if you're not truly applying yourself, that baddie isn't going to do anything for you. So just remember, find that baddie for you. Make sure you love her just as much as she loves you. And yeah, you're going to get a valuable education wherever you decide to apply yourself. All right. Now on screen, we have our contact information. If you guys ever want to reach out regarding, if you guys have any questions, honestly, once again, they don't have to be first gen question specific. Both Ajane and I are are brand new into this role, and we both still carry a lot of that student perspective with us. So we're more than happy to help regarding anything, honestly.
Yeah, and then just kind of, if possible, can we open it up for questions? But I know that like sometimes it's really intimidating to kind of ask questions in these sort of settings. So I can also like kind of ask Ulisa some questions, and if she's comfortable sharing, we can do that as well. So what was one of the most difficult things about being first generation?
I think one of the most difficult things was definitely that classroom setting. I remember walking into my first college class, and it was in this really big lecture style classroom, kind of like a movie theater. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the biggest classroom I've ever had. It was like 200 people. I have no idea how I'm going to succeed in this classroom because there are so many people. I was a little bit nervous to like raise my hand and ask questions. I didn't want to sound like quote unquote dumb, or I didn't know what I was talking about. So I definitely, as I was walking into this classroom, had all the nervous feelings. But I kept in mind some advice that my high school counselor had gave me. So I was like, okay, breathe, remember that step, right? Breathe, we can do this. So I walked down to the front of the classroom and I sat in some of the first rows. And that was one of the pieces of advice that my teacher gave me, was to always sit in the front of the classroom. I know it can be very tempting to sit in the back and just kind of from afar take a look at what the professor, teacher, instructor is talking about. But when you sit in the front, you truly do stay engaged, especially as a first generation student. That helped me a lot to get over those nervous feelings of being in a classroom of that size. It's being close to the professor and being able to make that connection there. So I sat in the front of the classroom and I was like, okay, this isn't too bad. I kind of forgot about everyone sitting behind me as well. So that kind of helped to adjust to the size of the classroom as well. And then I had two students sitting next to me. They were upperclassmen, and I like introduced myself. I was like, hey, I'm a first year student, a little bit nervous, and they were so kind. And I think I realized then that although there were 200 people in that class, it wasn't like we were individually going through this class, right? We were going to pass this class together. And that's when I realized that although there are a lot, like my professor is going to be a great resource, I want to get connected to them. My classmates are also a really big resource and support system for myself. So that, as a first generation student, definitely building relationships was one of the top things that helped me get over that fear and get over the idea that I wasn't enough. I wasn't good enough to be in that classroom, right? I was able to combat that imposter syndrome by getting to build those relationships with my professor and my classmates. And it definitely helped a lot, being able to talk to that professor one-on-one, hear a little bit about their story, and then kind of get an idea of where they started out, because once upon a time, they were also undergraduate students sitting in a classroom of that size, a little bit nervous. So building those connections really helped to break down that big fear of mine. And now I definitely feel a lot more comfortable in a classroom of that size. And I have a little more confidence in like, okay, I do belong here. I do know what I'm talking about. So that definitely was one of the biggest things that I had to overcome.
Ulisa, I really resonated with what you said for asking for help. What made you realize that? I guess from my personal experience early on, I realized that I never asked for help. You know, being a first gen student, we're told that we're just as capable of, just as capable of the person next to us. So, you know, sometimes you don't want to ask for help too. But at what point in time did you realize like you're not going to get far without it, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the things that made me realize that I need to ask for help, I definitely was that sort of student of like, I'm going to figure it out. I can do this on my own, especially being the first. There really wasn't ever that person before me that could give me that information. So I was always just like, oh, I'm going to figure it out. It's fine. And it takes a lot of work to find the answer when you don't ask for help. I think one of the top activities that really made me realize that I have to ask for help is this really interesting activity that I did with a program that we have here at CSU. They took us to our beautiful mountain campus, which was really awesome. And then we participated in this activity. They blindfolded us. So it's a little bit like nerve-wracking. And I was like, okay, I don't know what's happening here, but we're going to figure it out. And then they took us somewhere and had us grab onto a rope. And then they told us the objective of the game was to find the end of the rope. And I was like, oh, easy, I can do this. Like, we totally got this, blindfolded, so I don't have my sight, but I have all my other senses. Like, I can definitely do this. So they said, okay, go. And so I'm like going on through this rope, holding on. I'm like feeling around me. There's like trees. I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh, nope, I hit a wall. Let me go the other way. So I'm going the other way. And after a while, I was like, okay, I don't know where I'm going. I'm a little bit lost. And I was just like, I don't know what to do because I'm blindfolded, but this is a challenge. I want to overcome it. Like I can do this on my own. Every once in a while, our instructors would be like, hey, just like raise your hand if you have any questions. But I was like, no, I can figure this out on my own. Well, I never did find the end of the rope because there was no end of the rope. The whole objective of the game was to raise your hand and ask for help. And that's how you win the game, is by asking for help. And I think it was just put it plain and simple of how important it is to ask for help and not waste your time trying to figure it out on your own. And that really goes for everyone, right? If you ask for help, you're going to get to that answer a lot quicker than trying to figure it out all on your own. So that is definitely something that I go back to a lot, especially when I get a little frustrated. And I know that I'm capable of doing something on my own. Just because I'm asking for help doesn't really reflect that like I can't do it. It means that I know how to utilize my resources better. So I always go back to that activity. And I always think about too, especially in the classroom setting, if I have a question and I don't raise my hand, I'm always kind of secretly hoping that someone else is going to ask the question. And when someone does, I'm like, oh, thank God, that's really helpful because now I know the answer. So when I have a question, I try to raise my hand and ask that question because I know that there are other students out there who also have that same question, but are a little bit nervous to ask it. So it can be nerve-wracking at times, but building up that confidence and asking those questions don't only benefit you, but your other classmates as well. And at the end of the day, right, like you don't know what you don't know, so you have to go out and seek that information.
I just wanted to say quickly, thank you to you, Lisa, for saying that, because I feel like even as adults, as people who are out of college, that's something that we still, tell ourselves, right? It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. And so I think for all of our guests in the room who are listening to this, I think making sure you really take that advice to heart, I think is going to set you up for that much more success as you move throughout your 4 years in your undergraduate experience and especially beyond. So I just wanted to say thank you for saying that, because I think as someone who's already graduated from college, I still needed to hear that and remind myself of that it's okay to ask for help, and that's only not going to benefit you, but others around you as well. So again, thank you so much for saying
I oh, go ahead, Aljanae.
And then going off of that, there truly is no, you can't ask a stupid question at any point for anything. Because especially being first gen, you don't know what you're asking or how to ask it. And that's why people are there to provide that answer. So you don't have to have all the answers or even understand how to ask the question. Just go ahead and go for it.
And just remember, people are more than happy to help, especially when it comes to higher education. Everybody you see walking around campus, look at them like they're going to be super excited if you come up to them and if they can point you in the right direction, honestly, too. So just keeping that in mind. Lisa, I was actually going to share the same story. I played the exact same game, and I remember so we were all like student leaders, right? And at the time I was president of this club. And I remember they told us, all right, you're gonna be in a maze and you gotta get out. And slowly but surely, I started hearing less and less footsteps too. And I was like, no way, I'm just as competent. All of my friends made it out. I can't ask for help. I gotta do it on my own. I believe in myself. My confidence was through the roof. And no, I didn't hear anybody else around me, and I raised my hand asking for help too. And I remember just taking the blindfold off and seeing everybody, like all of my peers, just laughing at me too. And it made me realize that not asking for help can be a serious issue too. So just definitely remember to ask for help. It's gonna go a long ways. It's gonna make your life so much easier. You're remember those moments when you're just stressing out, not knowing where you're gonna go, not knowing exactly what to do. By simply just asking somebody, you can get rid of all of that. You could devote that time to something productive instead of getting some gray hairs, honestly. Too. So,
Okay, Yulisa, I have another question. What piece of advice would you give to a first generation student before they get to their university?
That's an awesome question, and definitely one that I think back to a lot, especially with the work that I do on our campus. I definitely work with a lot of prospective students who are first generation or first year students that are first generation. So now that I'm like in my fourth year, it's really awesome that I can reflect back and think about my own experience and think about if I wish I knew like X, Y, and Z and what would have helped there. Definitely asking for help, common theme here, right? Do that. And more so, advocating for yourself is super, super important. Especially as first generation students, you tend to get pretty involved in a lot of different areas and you want to give back to your community, but you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and putting yourself first. Throughout my senior year in high school, it definitely was really stressful applying to a lot of different scholarships and wanting to make sure that I had my entire college experience covered for and not, well, my family wasn't able to help financially. And so that was like a big stressor, is I didn't want to have any burden on them. I really wanted to make sure that I had everything covered. And so that was one of the things that I wish I would have done a little bit more my senior year, is take care of myself and advocate for my needs. Making sure you're pulling into those resources and saying like, hey, I'm really stressed out. I have all of these scholarship applications to do, and I don't even know where to start. Like, how do I even get started? Being able to advocate for yourself is super, super important. And it goes all the way through my own college experience, continuing to advocate for myself. Saying no can be really, really hard too. But I always go back to the idea of, if I'm saying yes to everything, that means that whatever I am saying yes to, I can't 100% give it my all. If I have 10 different things that I have to do all in one day, there's no way that I'm going to be able to bring 100% energy to all of those 10 items. Instead, if I say no to certain things and only focus on 3 things for the day, I can ensure that those are going to be the 3 things that are going to get done, and they're going to get done well. So making sure when you're filling out those scholarship applications, you're really focusing on the ones that matter to you, and which ones are really important to you. Being able to delegate those tasks are really important. And then also advocating for when you need help, when you need a break, and when you need to take some time off to just hang out with friends, and not do anything college related as well. So I know we're very much so go, 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 but making sure you take care of yourself is super important. And I wish I would have done a little bit more of that before I came to college.
Well, Ajane, thank you so much for those questions. Were there any other questions that we wanted to ask before we open it up to our only student in the room, Carolina? If she has any questions for any of our presenters, Angel, Ajane, Yulisa, Carolina, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask those questions. Or if you prefer, put them in the chat. We'd be more than willing to answer any questions about the first generation student experience or just the transition into higher education. But again, this is your time. We really want you to leave this workshop feeling more informed about what it means to be a first generation student. So please feel free to ask any questions. You have the contact information up on the screen for both Angel and Ajane. So you're more than welcome to reach out to them to ask more direct questions, maybe about their respective institutions. But again, we do have about 15 more minutes. So if anyone has any questions for anyone else in the room or anything about first generation experiences, please feel free to ask that, okay?
Come on, Carolina. I know you have one question to ask. You have to ask it. Please ask a question.
I guess I have a question, and this is for both of our presenters, Angel and Ajane. I know that first generation, or being a first generation college student, it was a huge identity for at least myself, you know, going through my 4 years during undergrad, and I'm sure it is for a lot of first generation students. How does that sort of identity play into your lives after college, right? It is something you think about when you're going through the 4 years and experiencing the first, you know, in your family to go through orientation trips or just exams at a higher education institution, right? And things that come with the 4 years of a college experience. But is there something that students should know after they graduate from college, now having achieved something that maybe a lot of people in their family haven't? Is there some merit to that, and how does that identity continue to play out after your 4 years?
All I have to say is it's a constant reminder, going back to that asking for help too. So that's one thing I just always tell myself too, that I don't know what I don't know, but at the end of the day, like, I know I'm equipped with the skills to figure it out. So just, it's that constant reminder to make me want to work harder than the person next to me. So definitely owning up to that, like Ajane said at the start of this presentation, just own up to it, know what you bring to the table. And half the time, people love that new energy too. Being a first gen student comes with so many like pros and cons as well, but people look forward to working with you and just bringing those new ideas to the table too. So just, that's all I have to say.
I would say that feeling of being first generation still like doesn't stop. I remember graduating and I actually did not know what I was still doing. Like, I had got my degree, but I was like, okay, well, what do I want to do for the rest of my life now? Because school was like the only option at some point. And so I did still go through those like emotions of like guilt. And I was like, well, I went to school, I spent this money, and now like I feel like it was for nothing. And so I was like still a little worried and disappointed in myself, but like I still stayed motivated. I was like, okay, now let me try to find a job the same way I tried to find my university. And so going through there, once again, asking questions, doing the research, and then still understanding that there are still other people out there who are in my same situation. So even though I was like feeling down sometimes, I was able to go back to my friend who also was first generation and graduated. And she's like, oh no, I'm the same way. So let's do this together. Or we were recommending things for each other. And so it's okay, like even afterwards, to still feel like you don't know what's going on. You don't understand what you're doing. And that's okay. Everything's just okay. You're going to be okay.
Thanks, y'all. I really appreciate that. Hi, Maritza. Welcome to the workshop, where we have about a couple minutes left, and we're doing a quick Q&A. So if there are any questions that you have about being a first generation college student, or just that transition to college, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question to our presenters here in the room, or feel free to put it in the chat. We're more than willing to answer any questions about, you know, being a high school senior, moving into the college process, the 4 years at an undergraduate institution, feeling like you might not be the most, or feeling, a little different from a lot of people. Any questions that you have, both Carolina and Maritza, please feel free to ask any questions. We have about 5 minutes, and I know our presenters are eager to help you. Again, it's all about asking for help, right? That's the biggest theme for today in this workshop. So we want to be able to help each other. I know that the four of us in this room, or the four presenters in this room, we all identify as first gen, and I already, listening to all of us speak today, I feel that I found community within people that I've only known for, less than an hour. But I think it really does go to show, that identity does really apply, or, have a role in your life, and you're going to find others who are going to be able to relate to that throughout your 4 years. So please rely on us, and please ask all the questions in the next 5 minutes before we end our workshop today. But again, thank you both to Carolina and Maritza for joining us. We really appreciate it.
I do have a question from Carolina, and her question is, how does she identify what are the most important scholarships and which ones should she fill out first and spend her most time and energy on? I I I feel like I may have a different answer than you guys. I say so earlier I talked about there's those colleges that are the baddies, right? Those super good colleges. There's going to be some baddie scholarships out there too, like being full ride scholarships. I personally never focused that much. One thing that I always told myself, like those small scholarships add on, whether it's like 500, 100. I say devote your time and energy into those scholarships because they will add on at the end of the day. But that's because when I was looking at scholarships, I wasn't the brightest cookie in the classroom too. So there's only so much that I could qualify for. But at the end of the day, I still got my way through. I didn't have to get out any loans or anything, and I owe $0 in student debt. That was my approach. But what do you guys recommend? What scholarships should Carolina focus on?
I definitely say complete the FAFSA. That opened up Friday, so like go ahead and do that. And then after that, I'd say the baddies are those renewable scholarships too. So just because one scholarship says they're going to give you this much, like let's say a lot of money for 1 year, still focus on finding renewable ones. And those ones are really good because it usually means you complete that application, you get the scholarship. There may be some other requirements or additional materials to submit throughout your time throughout the university, but it guarantees that you still get that money throughout that time. So you don't even have to worry about reapplying or seeing if you have to get it again. So I'd say in searching for scholarships, find renewable as well.
And I'll definitely add, I agree. I think when I was a senior in high school, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna fill out the Daniels Fund and Betcher, and I had some pretty decent grades and had some good involvement. So I was like, maybe I have a good chance of getting those. And I was a little bit bummed out when I didn't even make it through like the first round of like their scholarship rounds. And I was like, oh, like I kind of felt like I wasted all this time filling out those scholarship applications. While in reality, while filling out those scholarship applications, I just got better and better at telling my own story and really thinking through what is it that I want to tell these folks who are having these scholarships, right? What's really important for them to know about me. So I definitely agree. It all depends on, right, kind of like where you're from and your academics and your involvements and kind of where you want to spend your time and what you think is best for you. But filling out some of like those bigger ones, just to even get some practice telling your own story and answering different questions can be very helpful. After I realized that, okay, maybe I'm not going to get a full ride, I definitely started to take a look at some local scholarships. So within my school district or my location, just because there's like a smaller pool of people who are applying to those. So that was also another area that I looked into. And then once I was admitted into the universities that I was interested in and really wanted to pursue, some of them had their own scholarship applications. And so I definitely looked for those first generation scholarships specifically, and those definitely came in clutch. So in my experience, definitely take a look at those scholarships.
And I do want to add just one last thing, and this goes to any college application or any scholarship application. The essay for absolutely anything is like the one part of that application that you as a student, you're going to have complete 100% control. At the end of the day too, humans are the ones reading those essays and all that. So make sure to just show that human side of you, show what you're passionate about. Once again, show what you bring to the table, because a human is going to read those applications. So just show that part of you too. But yeah, so try and just be more confident with those essay applications too. That essay it's you, it's your signature. It has your name written all over it. So just make sure you just take your time with that. Don't ever rush an essay.
All righty. Well, thank you so much to everyone in this room and to everyone for coming. I want to give particular thanks to Angel and Ajane for being our representatives today and giving us all the insights of the first generation student experience. I want to thank you, Lisa, as the student perspective coming in, being able to offer her insight and all of the things that she shared with us today. Again, thank you so much to everyone who's a part of this workshop. you have contact information up on the screen from both Ajane and Angel. And I'm sure if you wanted Ulisa's contact information, she'd be more than happy to share that with you as well. But again, thank you so much to Carolina, to Maritza for showing up and participating with us. We really do appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the fair, okay? Thank you, everyone. All righty.
Thank you,
Wow.
Eric, and thank you, everyone. Well
Hi, Kathy.
done.
How's it going?
Good. They'll edit me out at the end here. So, thank you for doing this. I caught the tail end of it. And again, you'll be doing this afternoon. And because I think we had 2 competing workshops with yours, financial aid in Spanish and navigating the college process in Spanish, our first gens are very tempted by those 2. And I do think you might have some more participation this afternoon. This is a very important part of the college outreach mission. It's about access and equity and making sure our parents and our kids feel part of this conversation. Pardon me. So thank you for doing this.
Of course, of course. No, yeah, we all identify as first gen. So I think this workshop was like a little more special in that we were able to relate to the things that we were talking about wholeheartedly. We know those experiences, we have those stories, we envision ourselves back on our campuses and being able to say, oh yeah, walking into the classroom on my first day, 200-person classroom, like all of those things. So I think it was a fruitful discussion. There wasn't too much engagement in terms of the people who came in, but we understand that, this is the first session, so maybe they need to get their wheels churning, and then maybe after they'll be a little more excited or there will be more participation. But I would say it went pretty well. I don't know about y'all. How do you guys feel? Kathy, you're muted.
We did a solid job. I think we did a good job. We did as much as we could with it being virtual and all too. So just definitely, I know Ajane, this was like your first time doing something like this. This is only my second time, so we did a solid job too. For being from Brooks, we did perfectly fine.
Yeah, they were awesome.
You remember you're recorded, so this doesn't get wasted. I do a workshop in the spring for all 82 high schools and their counselors. And so this goes to them, and we use pieces of each of these that says, so you have a bunch of kids who are first in their family. Let's bring in our panel and let's see what they have to say about this. So you guys are going to be in perpetuity. Your wisdom is not going to die on the film floor. It's going to stay for a while. So thank you for sharing. And we'll see you all in your rooms. I hope in 2 hours to make it to 214 rooms. We'll see if I can do it. I'll see you all later.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Appreciate it.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
So for our next rooms, do we get a separate link?
Yeah, I got my link either this morning or late last night, but it should be in your email, and it has like, oh, this is Colorado State University's link or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, it was so nice to meet y'all. I mean, Ajane, you weren't here in the beginning when I was introducing myself to Angel, but we were sharing our experiences in that we were both new to the profession. I've also only been in admissions for 3 months now at Hamilton College, and it's been a great 3 months, but I've enjoyed like everything about it. And I think one thing that's been really cool, because I was talking to Angel, like, oh my God, this is so cool. I haven't met anyone else who's as young as myself, but also like who's in the same boat. And it's always been like people who are like 50 and over and who have like admission experiences for like 20 years, right? So it does feel a little different, like walking into this space being like, wow, we're like the babies in the admissions world. But it's just exciting to like see faces and meet people who are going through similar experiences. So I just wanted to extend myself and say that, like, I know this work involves a lot of networking, and I know that when I talk to like a lot of my my higher ups in the office at Hamilton, they always say, oh yeah, I know that one person from Colorado, or that one person from Utah, or that one person from, and everybody knows everybody. So I just wanted to extend myself and say, I am the Colorado representative for Hamilton College. And so I know not this year because of the pandemic, but in the future, I would, be traveling to Colorado. And if there were any opportunities to connect with either of you in person, like I would love to take advantage of that, just because I know that this is such a niche profession, right? No one really grows up to say, I want to be an admissions officer when I grow up. So it's awesome to just meet other people who are like on the same boat and who have like a similar just idea or passion for like what this work means. And I think in this workshop, right, we talked about like this work is really important to us because we understand how important it is to ask for help and to rely on people who are so helpful. So I just wanted to say it was so good to meet y'all, but also I hope, this isn't the last time. I hope, down the road, I'd always be more than willing to connect with any one of you for sure.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to meet you. My apologies for being a little late. Just my laptop was acting up, but got here, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Eric, this may sound inappropriate, but can I like follow you on social media, bro? Like just
Yeah, yes, you can. Yes, you can. No, yeah, I mean, I was also thinking the same thing, but I was like, maybe that's not the vibe. Maybe that's not what they're going
It's the
for.
vibe.
But
It's
yeah,
the vibe.
any one of you. I know you, Lisa, you're a senior, so I don't know if you're looking for these networking opportunities, but feel free. I'll go ahead and put my Instagram in the chat. It's just my name, so at Eric Adonia. And I do follow back, so no worry. But yeah, there's my Instagram. That's probably what I use the most. And you can find me on Facebook too, Eric Adonia. But yeah, my boss at Hamilton, her name is Peaches, and I've been going on virtual travel this past couple of weeks, meeting with high schools from all of my territories. And a lot of the counselors are like, oh my gosh, you're from Hamilton, you know Peaches? Like they all know Peaches. Like she's like a celebrity in the admissions world. And I think that's just so cool. Again, back to this whole like networking thing, like everyone just knows everyone from some school, from some state, from some city. And I know that in a normal year when people are able to travel in person, it's always an awesome opportunity for you to go to, let's say, Colorado, and for me to say, oh yeah, I have 5 high school visits in the morning, but at night I'm excited to meet up with Angel and Ajane, for dinner or just to catch up or anything like that. So yeah, feel free to follow me. I'll follow back. I see your IG and Snap are in the chat. But yeah, thanks y'all.
Ajane, can we have your social media too?
Yeah, so I'm trying, I don't know what's wrong with my laptop, so I might have to restart everything. But yeah, I could type it. It's just misunderstood 17 on Instagram.
Cool.
So I'm actually going to try to restart my laptop right now just so I can make sure I can get the link and everything. And I'll send it right over to you, Yuli.
And then I just hop in there next, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
It's nice seeing y'all.
All right, nice to meet y'all. Have a good one.
Take care.
Awesome. See y'all later. Bye.